Okay, I think good afternoon. I think we can make a start. Let me, is the captioning done? Let me just sort out the captioning on our.
Captioning is working.
Is working. Thank you very much, Adode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this series of our webinars. Just waiting for a couple more people to join, and hopefully we can make a start very quickly. Can we make a start? Is it okay to do it now, or should we have more people coming?
I think we can start.
Okay, that's fine.
We're recording this webinar anyway, so if they need
Okay.
the recording later, we can send them.
That's wonderful. All right, thank you very much. Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Nasser Siabi. I'm the Chief Exec of Microlink. Some of you have worked with us for many years, so no need to give you a big introduction. Just before we start, we have got captioning. And if you go down to closed caption option and select the subtitle, then you will be able to show subtitles. You should be able to see the captioning appear. And that is using our streamer captioning system, which works across many platforms. At the same time, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please use the Q&A or raise a hand, and we'll be able to ask the question. It's probably much better to be interactive. And then I will pass you to Laura in a minute, so she can actually take it away and show you the features of this platform. Now, one of the reasons why we've set up these webinars, especially in the DSA section, but obviously we've also got assessors from non-DSA participate, is because for many years, I've been concerned about lack of disabled students coming out of education actually getting help in the employment sector. They're not asking their employers for the kind of interventions, the solutions that they were using at the university with the DSA support. Recently, there was a research done by Business Disability Forum, and they discovered most of the students are saying that they don't think the solutions are relevant. So what they've learned in the past, they don't think could be applied into the workplace, which is obviously concerning, all that amount of effort and money going into training them. If they don't take that and become independent, then working is going to be tougher for them. Certainly in employment sector, where we do a lot of solutions for the employers, the kind of support that they provide is nothing like what the disabled student allowance makes for students doing the degree. So you're not going to have one-to-one once a week. It's a kind of a coping strategy. You get 2 or 3 sessions and then you're on your own. So really what we are hoping to do with our products and some of the solutions that we've been using for years in the corporate sector is try to introduce it to the DSA sector, and hoping that both universities as well as the students would be able to take it up and use it more effectively, and hopefully the transitioning would be better for them once they finish their degree and join employment. That said, we're also aware that there are lots of solutions in the DSA market, which could be very much tailored to a particular cohort, like dyslexics. We know that, and we're not trying to compete with them or match with them. We're trying to offer something unique that doesn't exist. There's no point replicating what others have done, because I think it's waste of resource, and certainly there's not enough bandwidth among the assessors and the student services to try to learn everything. So hopefully today's session would be very much about what can we do with assistive technology that most students get. How do we actually use that to empower the students, make them actually become better users of assistive technology and also more independent in doing it, and hopefully have a skill set that they probably are not getting at the moment. And that being said, the universities also benefit from this tool, because it is something that they need to raise awareness of assistive technology among all the students. There are a lot of students who don't currently volunteer for support. They don't think it's relevant to them, but if they knew about assistive technology, they could use it. And this tool allows them to be able to be using the tools whenever they want, and to get over what they want to do. And it's a huge platform, and I obviously don't want to steal the thunder from Laura. So over to Laura, and she's they have a huge history, and I'm sure she'll go through that. Thank you again, and Laura, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay? Nasser, you can still hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Laura.
Yes.
All right. Awesome. So I'm going to start out telling you a little bit about myself. I think that will help you if I kind of help you to understand if I flub around in the presentation in terms of the technology. So I am a lifetime educator. About 5 years ago, I was asked to join and work in this whole technology world. I was an elementary teacher for a long time. I eventually began working at the university, and then I also worked at the district level designing curriculum for teachers and students with all levels of learning, including disabilities. So one of the reasons I was asked to join was because of my educational background, of course, but additionally, I am a person who does not enjoy technology. So they thought, wow, perfect fit. We can weave Laura in and kind of have her be the test dummy. So I do work with our developers to make sure that the tools they develop really do align with the way all people learn, whether they're disabled learners or a busy worker in the workplace. So with that being said, let me kind of take you through a little bit more about who we are. So can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All right. So our organization provides focused solutions across the world. And we've been doing this for about more than 20 years. It really started with our founder's belief as an industrial engineer that the knowledge that people receive, whether they're in the workplace or in the university, can be standardized, mechanized, and automated so that we could offer a very consistent solution to a wide array of learners. We know that anybody who's learning, no matter what platform, specifically in an e-learning environment, all of their cognitive demand needs to be on what they're learning, not how do I use the tools to learn. So our platform really delivers this very consistent product that is the same, and we do it very, very quickly. So the platform itself has the ability to deliver knowledge lightning fast in a very consistent way so that all learners can benefit from the solution. So if you have to remember 3 things about our solution, it would be the videos or the micro learning. All videos Doesn't matter what the content is, whether it's adaptive technology or using Office 365 as a busy worker in the workplace. All of the videos are structured the same in that they align with the way learners process and retain information. Each video is typically about 1 minute long, highly focused on the outcome or the how-to, with minimal contextual information. And when we have contextual information, it's not necessarily all loaded into the video. We're super careful about what we need them to remember. So the video itself is always focused on the outcome. Then our solution is actually a content delivery distribution tool. So it doesn't really matter if you use our web-based solution or you just want to benefit from the content. We can deliver it to numerous endpoints, existing LMSs, or for organizations, even into ServiceNow, and you're still going to get that consistency so that the user experience doesn't change. And then I think what's probably most unique about our tool is this the learning campaigns. So we know that people don't necessarily wake up every day ready to learn something new. So when we have an organization or a university that really is trying to get the learning message out, we have this campaign tool that can deliver learning to users in their email so that it kind of reminds them of this learning initiative that's happening. But along the way, it also builds the self-help habit, encouraging people to go to their learning tool and solve their problems. So
I had a
Sure.
question from somebody. It's relevant about the content. Can you import other manufacturers' content instead of building it yourself?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So we have the ability to import SCORM files into our tool. So yes.
It's fantastic.
All right, so let me show you kind of this back-end view of our knowledge factory. And the reason it's important is whether it's content that our workers are creating daily, or we're creating some specialized custom content, we always use this same tool. So in the left-hand side, you're going to see this is for Office 365. And again, the same is true no matter what the software or the learning topic may be. Our knowledge factory workers go in and they source this software. And really that just means they figure out everything that a user could do with the software. They organize it so that the end user view, if an end user were browsing, they would be looking through the library by process. Then they load our tool with phrases that align with location and really actions. Okay, so they load the software with these phrases that are consistent across all of the processes within, utilization of that software. They import them into the script so that these users are hearing repetitive phrases. Again, the primary goal is the outcome. We don't want them to get distracted from what that end in mind is. So once they get it into our knowledge factory, each video is about a minute long, and we send it to wherever it is that, the user is going to benefit the most from this content. What's really important, I don't know how important it is to you individually, but we know that since we work with organizations and universities across the world, we have the ability to translate the content across 8 international languages. So, and I'll show you shortly. So the end user view, again, they're getting this consistent video, but if they need to see it in another language to enhance their processing, they can. So that's kind of our back end view of our factory. So we have these video nuggets. We put them into lessons or scenarios where a user might be offered 5 different videos. Each nugget has that same consistency in the delivery of the video, this see, hear, do. But when we group them together into these micro learning lessons, we're super focused on not eliminating information overload. We take them through a series of lessons or scenarios, asking them to kind of learn in these small repeated steps. And we've been doing this again for more than 20 years. So now the research is very favorable in terms of our solution, because we know that everybody learns better in these short bursts of knowledge, not just the workforce or not just people with various disabilities. It really is everybody who benefits from this type of learning and delivery. So real quickly, if we were working with a university and kind of imploring them to make sure their faculty is developing content that's accessible, we'd put together this mini lesson. So what you'll notice down below, and I don't know if my tools are showing up, you'll notice that this would be kind of that contextual information, building background knowledge for the user or helping them kind of revisit their background knowledge. Then they have a series of videos. The titling structure, comes from our factory, where when a user sees the title, they know exactly what they're in for. So it's, again, very focused on the end in mind. So you look at the lesson, you decide which videos you need to watch. There's a feature enabled called I Know This. Whether it's a student or a busy worker, relevance for adult learning is the most important aspect. They don't want to participate in anything that's irrelevant to them. So by looking at the titles, they can actually decide, is this relevant? Do I need to watch this? And if so, they're going to have the opportunity to watch the small video. If not, it's going to get them to the video that's most relevant. Along the way, they're going to be asked to go do to whatever they learned about. Now go do it in your application. We always follow new learning with a go do, because we know that it isn't really until you get learners involved in this active learning, participating in something we call a coaching session or doing the real way, are we really increasing retention. So that is the structure. And again, I'll show you that shortly. So we have organizations, again, worldwide using the tool. I could go into their reporting feature. Doesn't matter which organization it is or which use case it is for use of the tool. We find that more than 90% of the time, users rank our content as a 3 or higher out of a scale of 5. Here's what they typically say: easy to follow, very clear. So again, when you look at these comments, and then you kind of reflect back on our factory design, where we're just putting in those same repetitive phrases, and we're showing the video, and we're encouraging the go do, everything becomes extremely streamlined. And again, very important, the cognitive load is on actually what the outcome is, so they don't have to waste their brain power thinking about other things. This is just a screenshot of our learning campaign tool that delivers learning, this one-click access over time, so that busy people who may have, just 5 minutes a day to learn something new, see their schedule. So it's very focused, and they know, on these days, here's what I'm going to spend my 5 minutes learning. They click on the solution, and they participate in this relevant learning experience. So before I show you the tool that's kind of been optimized for Microlink and their their users. No matter what tool you're using, there's some really important things that you need to pay attention to. So the onboarding process using this tool is very thought-provoked based on the research we know is out there for how do you inspire somebody to obtain self-help. So the first thing we do is we make sure relevance. So whatever we put in front of them for the first time is super relevant to them. So in this case, the tool is branded for the organization or the university or whatever use case it is, so that adult learning principle of relevance is really the first thing the user interacts with. Secondly, we make sure, whether we set up single sign-on or not, the registration process is super easy, and we make it just this one-click access, because we know that the minute it becomes difficult, users will abandon the process and they'll say, okay, forget this. This is too complicated. So again, no matter who we're onboarding, we're following these principles. Then we make sure we use our campaign tool to kind of advertise the learning experiences and even send them assistance with how do I use this tool. If we're talking about a migration or trying to learn something, whether it's an internal email introducing new software, or whatever the use case is, we try and make sure we add a link to the video so that we're building this self-help habit. And then finally, along the way, we're using these reporting tools where we're asking users to provide feedback. So there's a feedback option on every video, on every lesson. So if a user is actually stuck, they have this touch point to say, I don't really understand this. And when they use this particular feedback option, they're going to get an answer through email. We have other options that allow them to sign up for a coach, more of a face-to-face session. So when we add all of these processes together, when we're introducing a learner to our tool, it really does increase the odds that the outcome of building the self-help habit is actually going to happen. So real quickly, I just wanted to put up a slide about the integrations that are available for the tool. All right, so any questions so far, or can I go on and kind of switch screens?
Just one question. I mean, you actually touched on it, this self-learning, especially for students and with a volume of information coming at them. How do you think we could entice them to take up? Because we've traditionally, e-learning, we've seen in the past, the uptake has been very low. Even though they've got the licenses, we found vast majority don't activate it because they find it very unengaging. Well, I'm not talking about your platform, because that's really why we're trying to get this to the DSA market. But we've been providing several different platforms, but we've always experienced that especially dyslexic students do benefit from face-to-face, but what they don't do is a follow-up exercise afterwards. Hence, we do feel that face-to-face is important, followed up by some sort of an exercise set by the trainer. So how do they actually use the platform to enhance their learning?
So again, we find the most success is making sure when we're interacting with learners, we're using the campaign tool, and it's all about relevance, right? So we're really micromanaging their learning experience based on what's relevant to them. So that's the number one thing, is understanding what is most important, what is their struggle, and then being able to deliver that content to them based on that. So, there's so many reporting tools. So if you're working, exclusively with a disabled student, you're actually able to go in and take a look at the content if they're using content, what are they looking for? And then you can design learning resources that you could just shoot over. I'm going to show you that soon. That's going to re-engage them or invite them to learn something new. And I'll show you that in just a moment. Did I answer your question,
Yeah,
Nessa?
absolutely. No, that's really important, because that engagement, re-engagement is really vital if you want them to benefit from assistive technology. And if they don't know how to, then I'm afraid we've wasted the opportunity and the money to buy something if they're not going to use it properly.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of introduce you to this campaign tool. So right now, this is kind of generic. This messaging is not really aimed at a scenario. It's kind of aimed at getting started with a new tool. But keep in mind, it doesn't need to. This was just kind of the easiest scenario for me to present you with. So if a learner is given this software, read and write for the first time, they're going to get this very brief message saying, okay, you've been invited to learn about how to get started with read and write. Here's your learning schedule. Again, we don't wait for users to come to the tool, because we know that's not really the way it works. Our campaign tool really functions at kind of like an advertising campaign. So, little drips and nudges along the way to remind users to engage. So when I talked about that, simplify registration, so that best practice number 2, this content that comes to them, if SSO is enabled, really the user doesn't have to do anything. They're going to click on their learning resource and it gets delivered. I'm opening up tons of windows now. It gets delivered straight to them. The navigation is pretty simple. Of course, they have the ability to navigate throughout the tool using the top level navigation, but we're minimizing distractions. And again, not to be a broken record, but getting them to that most relevant content right away. We're not bringing them to the home page, asking them to find the course that's been assigned to them. It's one-click access. And I really can't state that enough, how important this piece is. So no matter who the learner is, again, if they're a busy worker, a busy learning disabled worker, or somebody who doesn't necessarily have a learning disability, we need to present them with the learning goals. Exactly what am I in for? So across all of the resources, whether they're engaging with them inside of the Microlink platform or in an existing LMS, they're going to see this structure where they're introduced to the learning goals. And by the way, each course is designed to only be about 20 or 25 minutes long, because what we know is most people say they have about 20 minutes a week if they're working or if they're at the university to learn something new outside of, their job expectation. So we take them to the lesson. All right. And you'll see that the learner in this case has to engage with, did I read this? Because if you're looking to manage their learning endeavors through completion, they're going to have to interact with it this way, saying, I've read it. Now, not everybody who's doing self-help really cares if they get this completion statistic. It really just depends. So then they're going to go to the lesson. And what I need to do right now is take my PowerPoint, put it over here so that I make sure I cover all the things I wanted to cover with you guys. Okay, so we're going to get to our lesson. And again, here's that structure. The first video is a little bit longer because it's an overview video. But when I start to click on the other videos, hopefully you see that this titling structure really does communicate what the learner is in for. Okay, so there's no mistake about if I spend 2 minutes of my time watching this video, this is my outcome. So when I click on the video, and I know I don't think you're going to be able to hear my computer audio, I'm going to click on it anyway, just so you kind of see how it works, and then I'll click out of it. So we're going to find the video that makes sense for us. We're going to click on it. I don't know if you guys can hear.
Slightly, but that's okay, I think.
Okay. Okay. So what you notice in that scenario, whoops, I did not enable closed captioning, but I can.
That's very helpful, actually.
After installing Read and Write on your computer, you will see the Show Hide icon on the top right of your screen as soon as you start your machine.
So you could read that line. Again, very minimal context, just enough to know what the user's in for and what the outcome is supposed to be. I went to this view because I wanted you to see how easy it would be for the learner to toggle. So the captioning is great, but also to have the steps underneath, if you're stopping and starting the video, is super helpful, because when this line goes away, if they've forgotten, they're going to have to toggle back and forth in the video versus being able to see the steps, open up the application, and actually do. And remember, it's the do that provokes the best retention. So we really want to encourage that do whenever possible. So they're going to proceed through their lesson that way. If they want to stay in this skill track view, they can enable captioning this way. They don't necessarily have to read the steps as well. The tool really checks what you've learned. Even if you say, I know this, it's going to say, okay, here's your tracking. Now you're going on to the next video. This is that feedback option I told you about. We also know with any self-help platform, the more interaction you have with the learner, the better. So in this case, they're going to rank their content. It's going to send in a ticket actually to the system, whether it's, great comment or not, we're going to get that ticket. And if there is some ambiguity that the learner, they need help, then we'll reach out to them. And again, this is via email. So what we know is that users actually create a more of an attachment with an e-learning system if they know there's somebody on the back end kind of responding to their needs. So they're not kind of on their own. So each lesson, if we're doing this proactive learning, reaching out to introduce them to a new application, the skill track itself typically has this cadence: new lesson, go apply your learning, go off into the application and get this done. It's kind of like a checklist, very sequential, limited distractions so that users, kind of stay on track. Then they're going to get another lesson, and I'm going to kind of ignore these for now, and go through the cadence of learning that way. Learn something, maybe 3 to 5 minutes of new learning, go do it, and then you're going to get what we call a brain boost, where they're just asked to kind of recall the most important information. It's really not this high stakes quiz. It's to provoke memory, to provoke retention. So our team goes in and asks the most important takeaways, and then the user, I'm just going to kind of guess here, has the ability to retake if needed. So this is a short quiz. Even if they guessed, obviously their score couldn't be too bad. There's another more detailed assessment typically at the end. So again, really focusing on interacting with knowledge. And along the way, it's super critical to make sure you have a touch point, whether they have a question or not. Even if they decide to skip this, you want to make sure they know you're there. There's somebody there to help you if you need help. Again, back to kind of,
Laura,
question?
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, just a question. So just imagining this could be the tool, the trainer, or a disability officer or IT will set for someone, tailored to some person, send it to them so they can follow this. Okay, that's really good. Because that way you're tailoring it to individual users rather than it's a generic thing to learn about textile.
Right. Right. So this is a generic use case, but it would be tailored to whatever learning that is needed by that individual. So they're going to be.
I was thinking this would be a great enhancement to face-to-face training. So you actually cover certain topics and say, well, you don't need to do it now or retain it right now. You can here, I'll set it up for you. You go away and practice it. And hopefully next time we meet, you will know how to use this tool. That's great.
Right. And so what we know about training, whether it's with no matter who the learner is, it's not the actual face-to-face version of your training that's most important. It's the follow-up. What are you doing to follow up the learning? Are you giving them? That's really
helpful.
Yeah. So are you giving them more of the same because you're looking for that repetition? Are you kind of tagging onto the momentum and presenting them little increments of new learning to take them a little bit further? So the follow-up is super important, and really that is what the tool is kind of crafted for, to make sure that you're interacting with your learners. And really using the reporting tools to gauge what it is they're looking at, and then putting together, using some tools in the system, these micro learning lessons. So it doesn't have to be a full skill track progression like this. Maybe you're just sending them a collection of videos. So again, depending on what the learner needs. So so what I've taken you through, I just kind of showed you this campaign tool, how you're reaching out to learners. Let's see if I can find, say, another element. And again, these aren't necessarily scenario driven, but here's another kind of example of, okay, here's just a brief lesson to follow up what we did last week, right? And in this case, it's not this proactive learning. It may be a follow-up. Here's what you need to remember how to do. And we're sending them stuff, again, to build this self-help habit. We really want to make sure our first interaction presents them what's most relevant. Make sure there's a touch point for them to touch or contact somebody for help if needed. And really, this is the goal. We're going through this cadence of face-to-face sessions, following up with maybe video sessions, so that the end result might be something like this. They're going to navigate to the tool themselves, whether they land on the home page or they're actually going back to a course. I hope my internet is not giving out on me. Going back to a course that they, already enrolled in, though everything they're enrolled in is on that front page or on the home page, excuse me. But really the outcome is this. So you want them to come to the tool and search for whatever it is they need in their moment of need. So if, for example, I'm just trying to think about what I would need to search. Say click and type is what came to mind for them. I need to be able to enable click and type. So when they search, they're going to get all of their solutions by application. So if they're working in Word, they're going to filter for Word. And then they're going to click on the video that is going to help them. So enable click and type. And again, this is in Word. If they're, right now we don't have all the languages turned on. If they wanted to see it in French, they would be able to do so. Again, the solution, no matter what, is going to be about a minute long, highly focused on the outcome. So we're looking at the library view here. Again, we can enable captioning, and then we're going to toggle back and forth. So if the learner feels they're going to forget this, of course, they can mark it as a favorite. I've already marked this as a favorite. So from the home page, they're going to be able to, and all of this is configurable. I've set this up as a demo, but if we just wanted, you know, the home page to have the learner's skill tracks and their favorites, that's all we could set it up for. So that whole searching is very important. Now, from the learner view, they're going to have these options: print. From the end user view, I'm demoing to you from an admin view. This is going to say send to a friend, and then they're going to have their favorites. The rest here, again, are my options. This is really important for the learner because if they want to email the solution to themselves or somebody else, they have the ability to do that. We know that, you know, this theory of innovation or diffusion of innovation model, we know that when we encourage users to share knowledge, those early adopters or those adopters who find it to be really cool are really going to help us to reach some of those laggers who don't want to use the tool. So whenever possible, we try and remind them that if they find something they think will be helpful for somebody else, go ahead and share it. And we can even kind of honor this by giving them, you know, if we want to enable these, and I don't think we put it on the home page here, but if we want to enable the ability to kind of inspire others, we can turn on this My Stats feature and give them credit for sending and sharing knowledge. Again, I hope looks like my internet is
It is fine. No, it's just okay. We can see it quite well. Thank you.
So you can, you know, if we're going to enable this feature, remember it's highly configurable. So this is going to look how you need it to look for your learners. But we do know that we can actually give them points for sharing videos, and that does help. So it does inspire them to keep on learning, and it also inspires them to share knowledge. So super important. Right now, when you saw that envelope feature, I'm going to see if I can get back to it. You saw this, enable a solution. This is more for the coach. So if you're a coach and you're, or an instructor, and you're on a Zoom call with your student and you're really not able to convey how to get this done, as a coach, you can go into the tool, search for the solution, and just simply click Add Solution. And you notice over here, it's put it in the queue. So you're going to type in your learner's email address, you know, here is the video, and you're going to shoot it off to them. So again, it's a tool as a trainer that you're going to give them more of this see, hear, do. The learner can, you know, watch the video, mark it as a favorite if it's really something they're having a hard time remembering. You can even add each interaction. You can, this is my demo instance, I apologize. You can add a whole set of videos. If you know all of the learners you're working with consistently forget to use A, B, C, D, that can be automatically added to that video that you've sent to them. And so there you see, I added this solution that all of my learners are going to get. Then you're going to send them. And hopefully I'm going to be able to find, I sent it to myself, but I have all of my emails because I get so many going into various boxes. So I'm going to try and show you. I don't think this is the one that I just sent, but I have one in here for demo purposes. So here the user, and this is going to have a logo, is going to get very brief, succinct explanation. Here's what you needed to learn. Just the steps are here, or click here if you actually want to see the video. So again, the tool really does encourage this interaction between what we might call the coach or the trainer. So that's a really important aspect. And so again, this feature is either learner to learner or trainer to learner.
Another scenario where I'm really like quite a lot is like if you're looking at institutions supporting many thousands of students, they could use this one as a way to reduce the number of support calls.
Exactly.
And what I also found very, very useful when I started using it myself, and I must say I was really taken. I do sometimes want to do something and don't really need to learn the whole package to do it. So I do exactly what you said. The generic Windows features like how to maybe create a pivot table. So I just typed that, it showed me, watched it, and I did it rather than having to learn the whole Excel from scratch. So it's the way I found that even non-assistive technology is very useful to our students, because we used to find most of them actually lack the basic knowledge about Windows and Office 365 before they start learning assistive technology. This way we could actually give them the coaching, the lesson plan to learn before they start learning the assistive technology without taking too much of their trainer's time.
Right, exactly. So again, kind of the reason you went to the tool to do that is because you had confidence in it. So again, that beginning part with that campaigning and reaching out with that most relevant content, that's really what you want to do, build their confidence so they're going to come back to the tool. And that is the desired result for a disabled learner moving into the workforce, to have some type of tool they know they can rely on for a quick answer as well as proactive training. So let me I know we're running out of time and I want to leave time for more questions. I'm just going to take you to the home page. Again, this is a demo. Here are the quick links that we've enabled on the home page for demo purposes. But once you have learners kind of hooked on the tool, you're going to make sure all these quick links are on the home page for whatever they need. If they just need to come to Coaching Corner and schedule some time with a coach, you're going to make sure that's readily accessible. If there's a learning campaign content that you put together that you want to invite all users to, you can post it on the home page. So you don't necessarily have to push it off to them. I'm already enrolled in this, so I don't have an enroll button here, but it's going to very succinctly tell them, here's what you've kind of bought into. Here's the content that's going to be delivered to you over time. So again, after campaigning and you build that self-help habit, you want to put the links to the content or the scenarios on the home page so it's super easy for them. Now, if you don't put scenarios on the home page and you just want to take them to a whole resource or a whole what we call subject, what you'll notice is all subjects, regardless of assistive technology content or kind of this other standard library content, are all packaged the same. Guided learning paths, which are just quick helps videos that are put together so people could get started. They're going to use the titling structure to identify the videos that they need to watch. The check marks are going to help them understand what they've already watched. They're going to be able to enroll in that more formalized skill track that I showed you earlier. And then the index structure tells them how many videos there are. If they want to just browse, then they're going to look at the indexes and find the content they need. So again, that is assistive technology versus, say we want to make sure we offer Office 365, because I'm sure many universities are also having students use Office 365. We're going to get to this much, much larger subject with almost 3,000 videos, though it is all organized the same way, kind of that informal learning in something we call a guided learning path, allowing you to change your language, tracking, or they can enroll, in a more formalized learning course. You see, I've already enrolled in this. or they could simply benefit from the index structure because it's consistent across all subjects. So like our videos, all of our learning content is organized the same way. So we know that our learners are focused on learning the application versus navigating a new environment. So the consistency is always there. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to show you. I wanted to end right about now. I think I showed you this earlier. Again, the home page is configured based on the learning outcome. We want to make sure that there's a link to the coach on the home page. We want to make sure there's links to whatever it is you're prioritizing. So if the learner is in the mood to learn something new, they may decide to click on a subject here and see all of this formalized learning that's available. They're always going to have their tools here to reach out to a coach or to reach out to their instructor. This is my admin profile, so you see these two options. But a learner's only going to see these two. I think I've shown you everything I wanted to. I can't see the queue. Do we have questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm asking all these questions because I'm getting, I've got some questions already from people who couldn't attend. One of them is scenario-based lessons. So you have like what we call coping strategies, you know, people can build a scenario of a situation and then add it to the library so you can share with the community. So how is that done?
So how would, can you say it again, Nasser? I'm not sure I followed you on that.
For example, how do I use a particular feature of text help when I'm writing the report? I wanted to do a project. And then how do I use different tools to actually do that report structure, for example? Is there something like use a bit of Claro, a bit of MindView, a bit of Dragon? So yeah, that's the kind of a scenario that you can create.
Oh yeah. Cool. Yeah. So the whoever's creating the content, when they go to this actually this author area, they're going to have access to something we call a topic. So they're going to create a topic. They're going to name it by the scenario. They're going to kind of fill out. I'm just going to show you real quickly. If you're, you know, interested in, oops, I didn't choose an index. You'd think I'd know by now. So say it's Microsoft Teams, and whatever the scenario is, you know, get started, or it's assistive technology, whatever it is, you're going to index it there so it becomes part of the library for the learner. More importantly, you're going to title it so that it's searchable for the learner. Once I save this, then, you know, I'm going to probably put my scenario again in here. And then when I right click, I actually have ability to add content from any subject in the library. And I could just add those videos as the instructor, put them in the library, make sure they're searchable. I could even add them to the learning campaign. So if it's a use case just for that learner, I could do that, puts it in the library so that all learners can benefit from it, not just that student. So that's when you're designing a lesson, say for that student. You have all the videos accessible. You're just going to put them together and organize them in that topic format. So again, what the learner is going to see is, I'm going to take you to, they're going to see not this whole learning progression if you don't want them to. They're just going to see this form here of the videos you're advising. Now, that's if you're you know, you're wanting to shoot it on out, put it in the library. But remember, if you're just resolving an issue for a learner that you bundle up solutions and you don't need it in the library, you're going to use this tool that immediately pushes it out to them.
Of course, that actually came from a university IT, because what they're trying to do in UK, get everyone to learn to be about accessibility. For example, how to save an accessible PDF or a PowerPoint. They just wanted a sequence of events people need to go through in order to save it, and that would be given to everyone in the university to do it. So hopefully this is kind of gave you a scenario where people could use this and use it for a community rather than just an individual.
So then you just have to determine which tools you're going to use to publish it. Are you going to put it in a learning campaign? Are you going to put it on the home page? Are you going to email it user by user?
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you very much. That's brilliant.
Sure. Okay.
I'm looking at the questions. We got a few questions coming up. How many have we got? Mike, are you just limited to software-based solutions? Can you introduce coping strategies? I think you may have answered that. Is basic, right?
Yep. So when you're taking advantage of the content that the tool comes with, you know, then you're kind of limiting yourself to software. But there's a whole, this is actually has full-fledged content authoring enterprise level. So you can import content or you can create your own. So, and then you have those same tools available.
And a question from Gabriel was, I think you've answered that, is this how the trainer can action campaigns which you've been through. And one other one, Elaine, when do you ever do design workshops with your customers to get feedback to help to improve?
Yeah, definitely. So one of my role is to work with our partners to help them put together a program that meets their distinctive needs. So I work with partners all over the world, whatever their focus is, then we put together a program to meet those needs. And then my next step is I also work with our development team to make sure that that's coming through in our software.
That's splendid. Thank you very much. And I believe you covered a wide range of issues. I think it was really helpful because it wasn't really particularly directed at DSA students, even though it's an important cohort. But I think the universities are going to need tools to get people to help with that accessibility agenda, as well as having lots of students who don't currently receive DSA support. They could actually use the tool to self-learn or be taught in a structured way so that they can make better use of what's built into the existing platforms like Office 365, Windows, or Mac OS.
Yes.
And certainly with the number of international students increasing in the UK universities, having the multilingual support, that's extremely helpful, because I know that some of them will come in for a year and do some language courses, but having software, especially with assistive technology, would be very useful to those who are also disabled.
Right. So I think that what I try to convey is, you know, how important it is to pay attention to the user experience. But also, I hope that I conveyed how adaptable the tool is. I can't really go into other partners' learning centers because of confidentiality, but this basically looks, the homepage and what we've kind of optimized looks this way for the use case of getting people in and being able to see this content. But really, when you're looking at kind of this back end view, when you purchase the tool, you're going to configure it to convey or to optimize what's most important for, you know, for your situation. So it's not one size fits all. It's very configurable and looks different across numerous organizations around the world.
That is amazing. Thank you very much, Laura. Obviously, we've got to the end of the hour, and unless anyone has any other questions, we could thank you and for doing this session. Oh, Mike, one more question. With a user feedback mechanism, can this be linked into timesheets software to help managers identify potential learning need?
we haven't integrated with timesheets, but it doesn't mean we couldn't. And, you know, we look into integrations, and as long as we have somebody to kind of work back and forth with, we give it a go. Yeah. So we integrate with numerous bots, whatever it is we need to. So I don't recognize that one, but it doesn't mean we couldn't.
Okay. Well, thank you again. That's really very helpful. And finally, Mike will say thank you. All right, thank you. And thank you everyone for participating. And this recording would be available very shortly. And obviously, if you have any other issues, you get in touch with myself or Connor, and we'll gladly give you a user account to try to practice with it. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Laura.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.